An extremely important game in the world of anime arrived in 2021. Today we have to talk about this title that has given a lot to talk about in the last years, and of course we could not stay without doing its respective review. We're going to cover its mechanics and story, its characters and animations, its failures and achievements. Join me to see if Demon Slayer Hinokami Chronicles is what we expected. It is curious to see how Demon Slayer is a manga and anime that seem to be born to have its own game, and that said game was precisely developed by CyberConnect, the same one who brought us the saga of Naruto Storm and Dragon Ball Z Kakarot games more recently. It is as if it fits perfectly with what these developers are looking for. I'm saying this because today, and I say this very seriously, it's difficult for me to find titles with so much satisfaction in the feeling of movement as I lately felt with this game. And don't be ahead of me, soon we will see the little things in relation to the mechanics and how these are transmitted to the player effectively or perhaps not so well in certain cases. Hinokami Chronicles is a game that has been waiting for the majority of fans of anime and fighting games, not only because it is a phenomenon that has spread incredibly fast around the world, being one of the most popular mangas and anime to date, but also because the community needed this title so much. CyberConnect has been characterized for being two things: having a cinematic and spectacular style in the execution of many of its narrative elements for anime games, and also for sometimes being lazy. We have been waiting for a game of this kind for a long time, precisely because Naruto Storm 4 is at a breaking point with this release of Storm Connections. It's like its rebirth, waiting for a fresh air, beyond being able to live a new experience of story mode with this game from a different perspective. So at once, let's see what this Demon Slayer game has to offer us. Let's start, of course, with its story mode. This is a mix of many different gameplay formats and styles. We have the narrative moments with the dialogue and cinematics, traditional gameplay moments, quick time events, exploration through open areas, and boss fights. The story begins an instant slightly ahead of how the anime begins, from the practice match between Tanjiro and Sabito, skipping the first nod or turning point with the loss of the family of the protagonist at the hands of the demons. This is more than anything in order to introduce us with a tutorial to the mechanics of the game in a natural way, which we will talk about in depth later in the gameplay section. The traits and style of CyberConnect are noticed from miles away, with planes, cinematics, quick time events, and story mode format. It has a beautiful graphic style, as is the animation in the series, so faithful it's scaring. The narrative, mechanical, collectible, and setting elements fits very natural to the world of Demon Slayer. That is a very good point in favor. The displacement between levels works with a rhythm that can be slow at times, since the developers taken into account that this game only has story arcs of one season and one movie. The material is not excessive, so they take their time to guide us through this journey without rushing, even if it means using all the original dialogues, not cutting any scenes, and giving as much context as possible, giving you much more screen time characters that may be very ephemeral for the plot. That's why it seems to me that both the elements of the Kimetsu no Yaiba universe as well as its narrative are very faithfully represented, even mechanically speaking, not just with its literal story. I give as an example the moment when Tanjiro sees the opening thread in the neck of the demons in certain duels. It leads to a quick action working like a quick time event to take advantage of the low guard and give a fulminating blow. It is something perfect, a way to include lore and love the story throughout its gameplay. I love it. Things like this are seen once again with the trial that we can follow at certain points in the story through the smell of demons, and thus reach our main meeting points. A simple navigation system, but that highlights more canonical events. The boss fights. Beyond changing the combat format to which we're used to, it added different mechanics both to us and to the enemy, so that our fighting style has to change. For example, the boss may have unblockable attacks, other running attacks, other that cover a long long range, etc. There may be moments when they go into berserker mode too, where they go like a horse after us, but linked to the bosses and linked to one of the most anticipated factors coming from CyberConnect, the quick time events become irrelevant again to a certain point. When you miss the commands, the animation continues as it is, pretending that you hit it, which means that you will never lose. If you arrived at a quick time event, you have already won it. I'm very pleasantly surprised by the great fidelity that this work keeps in many scenes, placing them side by side with the anime itself, a very pleasant visual trace. Another pleasant surprise was the wide verticality of the environments through which we moved in the navigation system through the map of the story mode. You don't always see CyberConnect doing deeper level designs than just jumping walls and pushing objects. I'm pleased that they've taken the care of giving more freedom of movement in these missions. Even when the dubbing is very well done, the facial expressions are identical to those in the anime, and it has a soundtrack in the great majority of occasions, the same as the original material. In multiple scenes, the sound ambience and effects do not transmit the same thing as the image projects us. It does not feel the same, as if it needed to be more polished. When seeing this game, many make the mistake of predisposing it to be a Naruto Storm, either because of its visual similarities or because it is from the same developers. However, the game is widely different in a question of gameplay. With only the initial tutorial, you have an idea of the different mechanics and controls that this Demon Slayer game has. Don't you believe me? Okay, let's take a look at it. This is a game rooted in arena fighter like Naruto, it's true, but its most explosive and fun actions are not activated with a single button command. The blows are divided into a light blow, which is done with a square, and a strong blow that is also done with a square, but quickly moving the left analog at the same time. Special or skill attacks are activated with the triangle button, having 3 variants: pressing it individually, moving the stick at the same time, and holding R1, all with different animations and functions. This is a quite visually fast game, and the dashes play a fundamental part, acting with the circle and moving the stick toward the direction you want to make the dash. It is also possible to do it in the air after a jump. It even has a double dash pressing it quickly. The R1 is used to cover you from enemy attacks. It has a limit, so it cannot be abused. You can push an opponent, hitting you to create distance and break their pressure by moving the left analog while in cover. There is a grab, of course, the unblockable command to pass through the defense. The left stick and the guard button also have a utility which would be the most popularly known block or parry in fighting games. It is a command that measures your ability to coordinate the moment at which a rival is going to hit you. If it does at the right moment, you can counter it and go on the attack. The circle button also serves as a chakra race in Naruto. You can launch against the rival at a greater speed. Very important. These races can also be done in the air, but only after landing an air strike. The fights at some points of the story mode and in general in 2v2 multiplayer fights. Your partner can make support attacks, save you from an attack by attacking as a combo breaker, or tag team and switch to be the character you control. Now, the fact of interrupting your actions either to defend yourself more quickly or to maintain pressure consumes ability meter at 20%. This is used to cancel your movements and be more precise when defending. By the way, the skill meter works like the chakra or ki, except it does not recharge. It does it by itself. The meter is consumed when using special skills or cancellations. If you have a moment when your character is completely still, the bar will charge much faster. The light attack combos work as in Storm, counting a neutral, downward and upward combo, each one with different animations and hit properties. Apart from the skill meter, there is also the power meter. It is the one we see below here, and it works as a very special resource. This goes recharging proportionally to the hits you deal or impact you. It can be charged up to 3 bars. Each bar can be activated to enter a surge state, which recovers your skill meter and support meter to full at the same time. Gives you extra damage and speed on your attacks, as well as having special animations. To take it further, by having 2 bars you can do something better. After entering booster, you can activate the left trigger again to activate the spread. This is like an ultimate awakening, which allows you to have an infinite skill bar for the time that this is active, and in part makes you invulnerable to the attacks of the enemy. Beware, this does not mean that you will not receive damage. It means that the opponent's attacks will not generate any stuns on you, so you can go front like mad all the time. Also, clearly all characters have a unique ultimate attack, the most damaging attack in the game, and has a longer special animation. Depending on how many bars of power up you have available, the stronger the attack will be. And here is something extremely important and one of the greater weight factors when cataloging this game as one more complex, so to speak, than Naruto Storm. When you start a combo, you will see a little circle. This circle indicates the amount of time you have left to extend that combo and deal the maximum damage possible. It is like a meter that limits the amount of time you can hit your rival. Attacks, they can be prolonged with skills, support attacks, and others. They do this because, have you already noticed? There are no substitutes. This is an integrated system so that the game rewards the most skilled players who know how to make good use of their time and resources. As you can see, the number of inputs, game styles, and strategies would do a lot with the possibilities provided by the combat system, in contrary to what happens with the Storm, which is a much more direct, simple mechanism and primarily aimed at another casual audience. Is this good? It depends only on you how many hours you are going to invest in the fight. The difficulty was quite affordable, with many favorable points for the players. Probably too much for the taste of some players, but good, nothing very far from what we're used to. The authentic number of characters is 17 characters, also having the possibility of unlocking alternative skins of 6 additional characters that are basically the same as those with the normal skin, but here the ultimate of each character changes. Now, with the DLC, we have 24 characters in total. Now, what happens with the Hinokami Chronicles multiplayer? PS4 players have a very negative starting point from the beginning. They have a great input delay at the time of playing, and I'm talking about local battles, not even online. This makes it a very difficult game to recommend on that platform, and honestly, it is a shame. In the online section, you can play ranked matches or player games. In ranked matches, if you win, they will give you points. If you lose, they will remove points. You have different rank levels, an image and title for players to recognize you, very similar to the Storm series. This online mode will always have an input delay, which means that as good as your connection with your rival is, even so your actions will not be reflected on the screen immediately as it happens in local versus modes. In this section there is no tournament mode, there is no endless mode, and the battle customization options are very limited, which is a shame in my opinion, because these are things that CyberConnect sings about in previous games and they continue to do them. Also, having a game with parries, perfect blocks, and moves so based on the player's reaction, having a netcode with so much input delay is a little irrational for my taste. And now let's combine what is already the established delay of the PS4 with the delay of the online fights. Makes it absolutely unplayable.
すみません。煉獄さん。うまい。あ、もうそれはすごくわかりました。
It is strange how this type of games can cause in us certain emotions and certain impacts just recreating scenes and conflicts that we have already seen. But this is another medium, probably because of the unique way video games have of transmitting an experience through a digital medium. The execution of CyberConnect to tell this game is splendid. The battles to survive on Mount Natagumo, the training with minigames in the Butterfly Ranch, the battle of Rengoku against Akasa are a visual spectacle that cannot be taken away by anyone. The game looks beautiful every second you play it. If you're going to spend an afternoon with friends having some fights, believe me, you are going to have a wonderful time. This game has many things to improve, a lot. It's true, but they have been doing it through the past months, in my opinion. Thank you very much for getting to this point. I hope you can support me with a good like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. They have a lot of time and effort behind. Let me know your opinions about the game in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. That was all for today. Take care and see ya.